Hey there everyone, Dr. Beth Westy here. Tonight I wanted to pop on and talk about the compound effect of traumatic events. And I want to share this message with women who can use this information for their benefit and for others in their lives that they care about. I'm going to talk about a lot of these things here and I want to go through this, but I also want to be very clear that I am going to be doing my utmost to be very inclusive in my not only my research, but what I present and everything that I publish, everything that I put out for content, to give the most accurate, up-to-date information for all women out of all backgrounds as possible. I mean, that's my scope, that's my expertise is women's health, and I'm going to be doing a lot more on being inclusive for all women because we're all different, right? And that's the other thing too that I always like to share is that your health is really individualized. What works for you is not necessarily going to work for somebody else. And some of that has to do with your own system, things that you've been through, things that you have experienced, right? Things you've been exposed to, whether it be toxins or chemicals or injuries, illnesses in the past, right? That all matters. So what that means is that your health is cumulative. I say this a lot. Your health is cumulative. It all matters. Right? Things from your childhood, right? When and I'll give you an example here. Things that I like to talk about, I sometimes will share. I don't talk about it a lot because I don't like to make it a main thing, but I have an autoimmune disorder. And one of the things that I get asked all the time is like, well, where did it come from? Where did it come from? Well, I don't know. People don't know exactly where it comes from. It could be multiple things. I grew up on a small goat farm. That there could be something there. I don't know. My dad is a mechanical engineer, and he had part of his machine shop in our basement, which means there were metals and chemicals and stuff in the house. I don't know. I was exposed to other stuff. I was sick a lot as a kid. Like, is that part of it? I don't know, right? So some of these things, it's like, I don't know where some of these things come from, but it all matters and it makes a difference in how I take care of my health today. And that's my goal, is to give women, all women, the information that they need so you can make the best decisions for you moving forward, because if there's just not enough out there and we're not having this conversation enough. Women's health in general is on the back burner, and women of color, their health is even further back, right? So I'm going to do more to bring that to the forefront and be more inclusive, especially when there is research or information that can differentiate there. And that's going to be part of what I cover today. So, all right, compound effect of traumatic events. What does that mean? Right? That sounds pretty heavy. What does that mean? Everything is very heavy right now, and it's a lot for us to go through, right? Everybody, right? Okay. So for those of you that don't know me or my background or my history, I live in Minneapolis. I'm from here. And there's a lot of stuff going on. And again, I'm not going to address anything specific because it is so hard and information changes by the minute, it seems. So I don't know, it's hard to say the most accurate information, but here's what I do know is that people are hurting. There have been some injustices in there for a very long time, and there is a change happening, and I think it's going to be for the good. So what I love to see is people rising up and coming together and giving to people in the community that need assistance at this time because their resources are depleted. And my hope is that we continue to do this. This isn't just a one-time deal. This is going to be continuous because it takes time to rebuild. So that's what I'm going to be continuing to kind of drip in here and there. If you guys follow me on other social media platforms, yes. But it is important to realize that this is a traumatic event for a lot of people, and it has been traumatic. Being in a pandemic is a traumatic event. And I've talked before on this, like just being in the pandemic of, being in a lockdown. And some states are opening up and some aren't. The state I'm in Minnesota, we aren't opened up yet. Right? I still don't know if my kids are going to go to school in the fall. So you can't say one way or another. The fact that your lifestyle and what you did on a daily basis changed suddenly from being like, oh, I drive in the car, I go to work, I go to work out at the gym, and then all of a sudden you're at home. That's a shift and change in your body that you didn't get to control. That's a traumatic event. So a lot of women experienced, oh my God, I don't know what's happening, but my period's late. It's all wonky. It's all like, it's super heavy. What? Yeah. That's the stress on your system. That's the stress on your system. When women's bodies are under stress, it can delay ovulation, which means that your period's going to be late, right? Or you can skip a period, right? We've all had that. Well, okay, we're still under that stress of the pandemic, and now there's, a whole, more things happening. I mean, and it's a lot, right? And it's a lot to be. I'm sorry, like it's one of those things. I'm trying to stay focused on my message here without getting distracted, because my mind immediately goes to, people in my family, that are, mixed race. And, it's like, I want to stay focused so I can give accurate information for them. Okay. So when you're thinking about stress and the impact on the body with the pandemic, and now you're adding on all these other things, right? It's like, holy cow, those are two things back to back. That's, okay, buckle up. We're going for another ride, right? The system impacts stress. The human body is so unique in that the way it reacts and responds to stress is different than other species. Humans can see something, right? So by just watching the riots happen impacts your brain and it impacts your body, right? A deer or a squirrel or an animal doesn't have the same thing. They're going to see like a danger and they're like, I'm going to run away, la la la, and then they're fine, right? You see them like 2 minutes later. I have squirrels in my yard that like sit under my bird feeder, and you open the door and they scurry up the tree. You close the door and you wait inside. There they come. 2 minutes later, they don't care. No, because that's a different species. Humans, we internalize that stressor because our bodies we're trying to keep ourselves alive, right? I talked yesterday in my video about fight, flight, freeze, and some of the reactions that your system is going to have. Sometimes you don't necessarily realize it or know right away. It's a reflex, right? It just happens. And this is how our systems respond. And we respond this way by just, seeing something, right? Seeing something, and it can be a thought from the past, present, or even future. And that's stressor on our bodies and systems, right? And that stress affects our adrenal health, which I'll be talking about more because our adrenals are going for a ride right now. That stress impacts our hormones. And I talked about that stress impacting our hormones. Again, it can, for those women that are, if you have a period, have a cycle, it can, delay ovulation, which means you're going to skip a period or have a late period, something like that. The other thing, and this was something that I just, in doing, some more research to give you guys like more current up-to-date information, what I found is that, and this was shocking, that this was in an article that I found where women of color traditionally have earlier onset of hormonal issues, and their symptoms are worse than white women. So earlier onset of menopause on average by 2 years. Yeah, earlier onset of menopause. Why is that important? Why does that matter? Because specific hormones in the female body are there to help you build and maintain muscle and bone health, which means that if those hormones are waning off earlier on average, then that means that the overall bone health of women of color can be less than that of white women as the body ages. That's important to know. And realize that, okay, there's different things I can do to help maintain my bone health, to maintain my overall health as the body ages. And then one of the most shocking things was that they recognized in this article, which I am really glad I came across, was because of the effect of stress on hormones in the body, is that with delaying ovulation, but with women of color, in terms of menopause, right, it's earlier menopause, and they by 2 years, I'll write that down, 2 years, was the average. Sorry, my handwriting is getting a little sloppy. But one of the reasons that women of color have more stress overall was they said systemic racism. That was listed as one of the main causes. I'm just going to let that sink in for a minute for you guys because it took me a minute. They listed other things, background health or, they mentioned something socioeconomic, may have something to do with it, but one of the main reasons that was listed in this article on why women have hormonal issues, women of color have hormonal issues, and why they have earlier onset of menopause was because of systemic racism. That's a big deal. And I think it's important for women to know. I think it's important for women to know and understand and say, oh, okay, we're going to do what we can to change and shift this. Again, my goal is to educate women, to empower them, to take their health back, to put you in the driver's seat of wherever you want to go. And if you're having hormonal issues, if you're having, something happen and you feel like I'm not sure where to turn, I tried to find some research. There's not a lot out there for women. Yep, there's not. But what can I do to move my health forward? These are some things to look at. And to really realize that if you have more information, you can do more for your own health. That's my biggest goal here. Yeah, Stephanie, yes, this is powerful, right? Right? I would love for more people to know this information. I would love for more women just to know this information, right? That's why I do what I do. I mean, I talk about a lot of different topics with health and women's health in general. And when you know more, you can do more. So that's my goal, is to share this information so women can know more. And this is a big deal, and this makes a difference. And because your health is cumulative, right? Like once you realize, you're like, oh, that makes sense. That makes sense that women who are experiencing systemic racism for their whole life would be under more stress. So that compound effect of traumatic events that I'm going to say like I have been experiencing, right? I've had traumatic events in my life before. I've had, different events, but right? It's an event and it's an event and it's an event. And then there's a, coming out of it. And for a lot of us right now, it might seem like, oh, this is just never ending. Well, this is what a lot of women of color are experiencing, I'm guessing. I'm not going to say because it's hard to say for sure, but based on some of the research and some of the things that I've, come across, especially the hormonal impact, wow, that for your lifetime, that type of systemic stress and how it affects your health. That's a big deal. That's a really big deal. So what do we do about this, right? Besides knowing more, okay, now you might be like, oh crap, now what? Now I know that stress affects my body. Stressing out more. And I don't want to go into menopause even earlier. That doesn't sound like fun. No, right? So what do we do more? Taking care of your adrenal health, right? Taking care of your stress. And there's a lot of things you can do to help your system. The video I did yesterday, I talked about some basic things with helping your system deal with trauma. Things that I'm doing, making sure I'm hydrating, making sure that I am eating protein, making sure that I am grounding myself, right? Getting snacks in, all that stuff. But again, on a bigger level, what do we do about the bigger problem here, in terms of really helping our system deal with this type of massive stress? Well, there's a lot we can do. Making sure your health overall is as good as it can be, getting as many resources as you need, and making sure you're doing all you can. I mean, really, we have to be self-advocates, and that's what I hope, women can do. All women can do is taking this information and being advocates for themselves, for their own health, and saying, you know what, I went in and I tried to talk to somebody about this, and I felt dismissed, or I felt like I was made to be crazy, or I felt like, oh, this wasn't a big deal, and it is a big deal. And I want to help you get enough information where you feel more well-versed on what you're experiencing to really do something about it if you need something, right? So in terms of stress and adrenal health, some of the side effects besides, hormones here, right? Hormones, and then when we talk about, because the other thing that happens is weight gain. And then with this hormonal change, right, when you have weight gain, it becomes this inability to lose the weight. That's what's so frustrating about it. You're like, gosh, I'm trying to eat healthy. I'm trying to do, the right thing here. And I'm not able to make progress with this. What the heck? What's happening? Yeah. Well, you're because your hormones are off, right? And because of all the stress, you're going to gain weight, but then you're not going to be able to lose it because the hormones are off. Oh, that sounds like a really terrible problem that you can't fix. Well, I have the resources that I have for women. So again, I mentioned I have a YouTube channel, which is called Dr. Beth Westia. I do a lot of videos there. There's a lot of content there. I also have a podcast, which is called The Female Health Solution. More information there. I have a book called The Female Fat Solution. This talks about nutrition for your hormones throughout your life cycle, as well as how to eat for your hormones and cycle. There's a lot of good information there. And then I do have, my 12-week program. So this is the other place where I really love working with women. I work with women all over the world. I work with women of all different backgrounds, of all different colors. And the one thing that's constant with this is that you get to be in the driver's seat. You get to learn more about your system. You get to understand why what's happening is happening. And you get to do something about it. And stop feeling frustrated. Stop feeling like you're fighting with your system. Stop feeling like you are just, oh, this is happening and there's nothing I can do. So these are the things that we work on in the 12-week challenge. So I'm going to put a link here in the comments where you can get on the wait list for the next 12-week challenge that I have. I only take so many women in this group because I do work with each one and on a close level to make sure that I'm making the right recommendations that you need that are going to help you the best, right? We're not a one-size-fits-all, right? We're not a smaller version of men, and we are definitely all different. And that's one of the things to help you get to the best health is to really address what your body, what your system needs individually. And it starts with education, it starts with the information, and then it starts with taking that step and doing what's right for you and your system. So I am here as a resource. I am here, if you have questions, if you need something, because I absolutely love sharing this message, helping women, and I want to do what I can to help keep being a force for good for all women moving forward from here. So that's what I got for you guys tonight. Thank you for tuning in. And again, if you need something or have a question, please let me know. Have a great night.